Dr. Dilip Kumar, Senior Consultant, Interventional Cardiologist and Electrophysiologist, Chief Academic Coordinator at Medica Super Speciality Hospital, Kolkata, India. Dr. Dilip Kumar possesses a professional experience of 13 years as a cardiologist and is the American board cardiac device specialist with vast experience of device implantation. He has also innovated many new ways of doing complex device cases and has immense experience in doing chip coronary cases with many cases published in the international and national forums. We heartily welcome you, sir. I would also like to extend our warm welcome to the moderators of the session, Dr. Arun Gopi Calicut, Dr. P.B. Jayagopal Palakkad, and the panelists, Dr. Rupesh Sharja, Dr. Aravinda Kumar Trichy, and Dr. R. Subramanian Erode. Now over to Dr. Dilip Kumar.
Thanks a lot. So I'm going to speak on remote monitoring of cardiac devices, newer technologies, and future ahead. So it's indeed a very interesting topic. And this was the article published in Circulation 2013. And it cited a kind of Medicare beneficiary data, which showed that 1/4 of the patients were not reviewed in the year of implant after the procedure. So it's really troubling and disturbing. And the reason behind it, most likely the device patients are, outgrowing the capacity of, the clinical capacity rather. And the number of cardiac device patients are increasing day by day, but the clinic capacity is not increasing with the same pace. The left side of the screen, you can appreciate there is a renewed interest and kind of, to be precise, from February 2020, we can see a increase in interest in remote monitoring of CIEDs. And what are the demands of these patients and the industry and the clinics? The patients nowadays are, they want to be more interactive. They want to be part of the, their treatment. They want greater responsibility for managing their health. And they want the treatment to be convenient and consistent. And the family members also tend to be involved more and more. But the clinics are facing challenges in the form of escalating volumes, pressures for time, return on investment, staff recruitment, retention. And there is no surprise that disruption to continuity of care can happen. So the answer looks to be in remote monitoring. And remote monitoring doesn't mean only device management in terms of programming the parameters, having known the kind of threshold, what is the battery status, is there any, arrhythmias happened or not, but it involves kind of holistic management in terms of heart failure management, looking at the thoracic impedance data, looking at, information from external sensors, which we'll, discuss later on. And then patient-centered management, the data which we have, as someone from device clinic can interact with the patient and make this data more fruitful and patient-centric. Till now, most of Indian patients are being treated like patients coming to hospital. They are getting interrogated in person and they are going back. But the remote monitoring offers something like there is an external transmitter or something like blue chip enabled. The device is itself transmitting the data through app-based system, and it goes to a server where the data is getting processed and the desired information is being fed to the physician or to a EHR or to sometimes patient itself. We have come a long way in remote monitoring, right from telemetry days to stylish, kind of Bluetooth-enabled devices, in which the patient is, is playing an important role and is totally active and interactive. So before going for future of remote monitoring, let me discuss something about the remote monitoring modules, what are the companies involved, and the hard data which we have, which have shown that this remote monitoring has translated into clinical benefits. So remote monitoring is not a kind of a propriety of a particular industry. It is all the companies, Biotronic, Boston, Medtronic, Sorin, St. Jude's, they have got their own remote monitoring system. And till, at present, they send alerts on daily basis rather. But the recent one, the Bluetooth enabled, will be sending data in every 3 minutes to 4 minutes. Coming to the data which shows that it has translated into clinical benefits. This was published in Circulation 2015. which showed that those patients who were in remote monitoring, they fared well and the adverse events were lesser. And in fact, significantly lesser. You can appreciate the p-value, that is something like 0.0001. So it's highly significant reduction in adverse outcome. And this data is really, really interesting. Huge number of data. You can appreciate the number of patients they studied. It was something like 269,471 patients. And by the time the study was conducted from 2008 to 11, the automatic transmitters were there already available, unlike the manual transmitters, which were based on analog lines, landlines. These were the cellular enabled kind of automatic transmissions were available at that time. And they divided the patients into three categories. Those patients who were utilizing the remote monitoring and the utilization time of remote monitoring was more than 75%, they were termed high TRM patients. Those patients who were utilizing this facility, but less than 75%, they were termed low TRM patients. And those patients in which the remote monitoring was switched off, they were they were the third category where there was no remote monitoring. And you can appreciate with the curve that the patients who were in high TRM had twice lesser mortality than those patients who were having no remote monitoring. So this is kind of astounding, evidence that remote monitoring works, and it reduces, the mortality and improves the survival. This is the Merlin.net clinical benefits from the same study, subgroup of patients, and here also we can appreciate all across board patients, whether they were pacemaker patients, where they were ICD patients, where they were CRTP or CRTD patients. All group of patients had significant benefit, and the biggest the benefit was seen most in CRTD patients, which we expect, and which is reasonably what happens to be. This is another study from Jonathan et al, which showed that if we use remote monitoring, we are substantially reducing the healthcare utilization. And this is all-cause hospitalization according to remote monitoring utilization. We can appreciate all across patients, whether the pacemakers, ICD, CRTP, or CRTD, the number of the hospitalization were lesser in patients who were using remote monitoring. And you can appreciate mean length of stay was significantly less again, and most robust in CRTD patients. Besides the reduction in hospitalization, mortality benefit, studies and trials regarding atrial fibrillation, the early detection, the treatment, the intervention regarding reducing stroke, which we all have got to know from remote monitoring different studies, but this study is a little different. And this is kind of very thought-provoking study. And what they did was, those patients on remote monitoring, the data were fed every day. If the patient had AF for more than 1 hour duration, these patients were put on anticoagulation, and at least for 30 days. And suppose if the patient has a AF-free interval of more than 33 days, then the anticoagulation was stopped. So it was evaluated in terms of if we can reduce chances of administration of anticoagulation in these patients. And there's something like the goal was to reduce the anticoagulation period to 70% of what we give normally. If we see a patient of AF more than 1 hour duration coming to us with remote monitoring, we tend to give the whole time, the 100% of the time we put the patient on anticoagulation, and it continues and continues. But here what they saw was, if the the AF-free interval was 33 days, they stopped it. And what they found, the result was really, really surprising. And it was only 6% of the time the patients were on anticoagulation. And amongst the 24,320 days, there were only 1,422 days the patients were on anticoagulation. So rest of the time, 94% of the time, the patients were off anticoagulation. Probably they were not needing it, and a lot of bleeding episodes could have been averted. Besides it, there are a number of studies which shows that remote monitoring reduces mortality, increases survival, reduces healthcare utilization, and these are the reasons which we have discussed earlier. It improves patient compliance, decreases the number of patients lost to follow-up. This is 79% faster than traditionally followed patients. It's more quickly. It is more quicker, and allows for 18% reduction in the emergency department urgent in-office visits, and it allows 58% less clinical time to perform a remote check than in office check. So in nutshell, it leads to faster time to clinical action, less time to the doctor, less time at the hospital, and finally more living and more survival. And no surprise, for last 5 years, this is class 1A recommendation by HRS that remote monitoring should be offered to all patients of CID. But the reality is different. It is not like in Western countries, 100% of the patients, they go with remote monitoring facility, but the adoption rate and the utilization rate is not at, the same. It's all these studies have shown less than 50%, utilization of remote monitoring. From India, I think the data is not available, but still, if you ask me to guess, it must be less than 10%. So a lot of things needs to be achieved, and the barriers for remote monitoring, why the uptake, the rate was less. We can, some contributors could be technology. The technology, initial technology was, creating some hindrance. Patient wanted remote monitoring. Should be seeing the doctor in person rather than going for remote monitoring. So the cardiologists were not, very clear that it should be there, and some of the patients felt it's not necessary, and for some of the patients, language was a barrier. And these were the initial devices, remote monitoring devices. There was transmitter, external transmitter, which was working on analog line, landline. But later on, there was some modification in terms of dongle, cellular connectivity. They changed the color, some of the designs, but the basic technique was similar. Technology was similar. Boston, tried integrating some external, data, like something like blood pressure and the weighing scale data, in addition to the data, coming from device to be transmitted, so that additionally we can, take, can make idea about the patient's BP status, how the patient weight gain is increasing or not through only the, remote monitoring. So it was a very good addition, but still the technology was similar, and you can appreciate number of patients shifting from landline to cellular, and these things were not working as per the, expectation. So finally, the technology evolved. The newer technology allowed a larger antenna. It allows better communication for deeper implants. So it has a range of 1.5 meter. It has got more power. It has got increased sensitivity, and it has 4 times faster connection establishment to app. So this way, the device has got now a Bluetooth chip, which enables the which enables to exclude the external transmitter. So the transmitter is inside the device, and the Bluetooth asks the through app, the mobile asks the device every minute. You can see here every minute the mobile app is asking the device, is there anything to say from your side, from device, which is nothing, no problem. Every 4 minutes, the device is sending transmission to the server. So this way, every minute, the patient is under remote monitoring. And it has enabled up to 97% compliance. So the initial compliance, which was less than 50%, it has got up to 97% in the initial experience. And the data transfer is 20 times faster than the other remote monitoring modalities. So it's really exciting days which are awaiting. And not surprisingly, there is a reduced time for arrhythmia detection through smartphone-enabled remote monitoring. And there is something like assisted remote programming sessions. Not only having the data from the device, having the alerts from the device. What about something the patient has come into the emergency room in the night? Expert health worker is not there, and but the device programmer is there. So what happens is, if it's through wirelessly, the device programmer, if you can switch it on, then through software, the same programmer screen can be mirrored, or rather what we call local integration. The information, and local integration flows into something, a model like Zoom or like Cisco WebEx, and we at home through our laptop, through our iPads, can see the same mirror image of the programmer. And as we see in Zoom, someone is enabled to speak, someone is enabled to share his screen. Similarly, in this function also, someone is enabled to program also. So this is going to be really exciting again in future. You can program the patient right from your laptop, your iPad, sitting at your home. If someone has switched on the programmer, at the patient's bedside. And these are more relevant to us. Why? Because the smartphone uptake in India is more than US. This looks very surprising. Yeah, in fact, this data is tough to believe, but this is reality. You see the uptake rate of smartphones is 36.2% in India as compared to less than 10% in other population. And in US, it's not that much. And more and more aging patients are also now using smartphones. And they say that the daily use of smartphones are also high. Moving forward, we get the data. So what else we can do? We can program. What else we can, add to the future? So the clinical productivity has to go more. Analytics diagnostics have to become more, robust, and seamless acquisition, which we already discussed. It has to be continuous, and that additionally can bring something like into data integration gateway. Like Abbott company, they have got their own system of working. Medtronic, they have got their own system working through CareLink. Boston, they have got their own system of working through Latitude. But what about if we integrate all this data and they come in a common format? So there are solutions available for this. Something like they take up data from all the remote managements, be it Medtronic, be it Abbott, be it Boston, be it Biotronic. They take up data from all the parameters, whichever company it is, and they collate it and they send it to electronic health record in a particular, one format. So you don't have to go in Merlin.net, you don't have to go in CareLink, you have to go into your electronic health record, type your patient's identification number, and the data looks in the similar format for every patient, whether it is Latitude, whether it is Merlin.net, or whether it is CareLink. And this is what we call data integration gateway. And this is one of the solution which is available, outside, not in India. And here, what they do is they take up data from the implant. Additionally, they take up data from the clinics, like how is the BP of the patient. Also, they can integrate the data from ambulatory health, 24-hour BP monitoring, and other tools, and they compile the data and send it to EHR. So you get to know the clinical status of the patient, the feedbacks from device, and you can make your idea about how to go ahead with the patient. And more to add, with this information, you can run your own clinical trials. If we have got something like the entire feedback from the device, the feedback from the other inputs like BP, weighing machine, and then you can plan a kind of a trial that how many patients got shock, how many patients they behaved in the CRT, how many decompensated, why they decompensated, what was the feedback from the device. So you can run your own trials based on these data. And finally, cardiac device cyber security. So it is really a definite concern. Everyone feels that if the device is being integrated, is interacting with mobile system and a smartphone, there are possibilities that it can be hacked, it can be misused. So this is a genuine concern, but thanks to regulators, you can appreciate before the device company brings up this into market, they had to go through a lot of cyber security regulators. And these are not one, two, these are many. You can look at their MHRA, US Food and Drug, FDA, CFPDA. So a lot of regulators are there. You have to go through that stringent pathway and very, and we can say right now, this is as secure as or rather more secure than the banking cybersecurity. So the risk and the apprehension of security is still there, but definitely it has been mitigated and it has been taken care of. So the future may look like this. You have a Apple smartwatch, you have a kind of ECG, 12-lead ECG, you have different inputs and then device inputs. They are all integrated, and then you are getting feedback through your EHR through a common solution. So this is the future, which looks really exciting. And finally, to conclude, when there were early days for remote monitoring, we all can appreciate the early detection was something like 5.7 months if we could detect new onset atrial fibrillation, we thought it was early. Oh my God, we detected early. Then with the automatic transmission, it came down to 1 day. So the patient had patient has a kind of a AF new onset, a VT. The same next day, we come to know this patient has this event, and then you can work on. But probably with all this, what we discussed, ever-linked connectivity, Bluetooth-enabled, inputs from other devices, and analytics, probably it is not the event has happened. We can prevent this event by many days. So thank you so much for the patient hearing.